Hello, my name is Filippo Iovine and I work at Odoo as Odoo Solution Architect. Odoo is part of Symphony's Primes Group and has branches in Milan, Rome, Amsterdam, Madrid, Berlin, Munich and Lugano, covering 5 countries and speaking 4 different languages. Odoo developed many ERP solutions for lots of different kinds of companies, such as corporations, manufacturing and merchandising businesses, service companies, public administrations, and so on. So, I'm here to present to you a module we have developed to meet some of the project requirements of one of our biggest customers, and actually part of a much bigger project named Activity-Based App, a work-in-progress project for the first operator in Italy in gas distribution and the third in Europe, with 100 euros in the pilot project and with a target goal to manage space and resources for at least 4,000 users. With this mobile app and relative backend interface, users will be able to manage, share and book in advance resources, spaces and tools, example room, desk, printer, etc. in advance before joining the office. The need to develop a flexible widget was a requirement then to render custom data structure as maps and object pins, following the concept of a parent container and children locations. What did we know? Okay, we had very important requests to take care of to accomplish this project. We had the need to handle at least 3 kinds of image formats, JPEG, MPG and the vectorial SVG. We had to take care of to be able to locate and move objects on the map very precisely, have a nice intuitive graphic user interface to add, delete, edit and move objects on the map, an end interface to help users to locate pins on the map by text searches, by categories, etc. Most importantly, it had to be adaptive, so to cover other future projects and different kind of Odoo models, so to have good value for our company as well. Why Odoo? Why Odoo? Easy question. First of all, because we are Odoo, of course, and of course we have powerful knowledge in deploying Odoo solutions, and we all know the flexibility and versatility using Odoo framework for this kind of projects. More, we decided to give a go using Odoo Web Library as a framework library to develop this widget. The Odoo Web Library is quite a smallish framework that helps you to build Odoo Web Client components using powerful Odoo Common JavaScript API library. Synergies. Okay, Web pin map has been built using the old framework wrapping a customized version of Maplik. So we used the main component of our widget, the core, is Maplik, is a JavaScript library that you can buy online about $40 license. So, and buying just one license of Maplik, you can have all the maps that you want for all your websites. Maplik is a plugin for creating interactive maps based on a simple image, JPEG, PNG or vector, SVG files then. Can handle clickable locations, pop-ups, searchable lists, zoom controls. Challenges, lots of them. We stepped through a wish list before starting the job. First of all, we wanted a flexible floor plan map widget adaptable to any kind of Odoo data models, as already stated previously. And what you see is what you get interface to handle maps and pins in an intuitive way, and have a reliable programming API interface and data binding flows, so to help developers to use this widget in future easily in a really powerful way. Impacts on our working team. The widget has been developed side by side to our customer and final users to have a chance to build exactly what they have in mind. So to have a clear picture of the customer's need. Customer profit. Okay. What customers profited by this module? Implementing such a widget to handle maps and pins speeded up managing their resources. Visual results help managers and super users to have a whole picture of available assets of the company. So looking at map or maps, you can have a real clear picture of what you have in your company, all the assets that you have in your company. Moreover, developers and final users can profit in less effort and time wasting handling this type of data, of course, as I already mentioned. Finally, what are values of this app? Well, we have an intuitive user interface experience. The rendering process is quite fast thanks to Mapping component. Pins positioning is quite a must to have for an accurate representation of the resources located on maps. Accessibility to data locations by text search, by group of categories, etc. Is model adaptive and then have little developer effort to integrate the module. You need to build a parent model, tie that to a children model, and finally the XML view to describe how to render these relations, which is customizable. Developer can be free to add features easily and quickly. Now, let me show the widget in action. This is a demo installation where a building parent model has been tied to floors and assets children models. On this page, as you can see, you are able to access the web map pin widget view from the building form view, showing all explorable floors, or directly from the floor list view, then showing you only that floor. As you can see, you can navigate or switch through different levels or floors. On the sidebar, you can see the list of the pin names and a short description in the smallest font below the name. Clicking on a pin, you just jump directly to the map position where is located the pin, and eventually even the floor is switched. The tooltip shows you the name of the asset. Now, let's see how to add a pin or an asset in this case. You click on the right mouse button on the site where you want to add the pin. You switch to the form view of the model you set up to be record fields of the pin with all your custom data. And here we go. The new pin object have just been added to the map. Now you can always click on the context menu of the pin with the right mouse button and change field values to be reflected on the pin properties. As you can see in this moment, we are changing the name property. We back to the map and you can see that the name of the pin has just been changed. Let me show you another feature. You can click on the search bar and search for words contained in the name of pins. For example, let's go for a text search with the word station. Here you can see results. And now let's search with the word meeting to see new results just below. Now we play with pin object categories. Any pin can be owned by a group of categories. Click on the toggle button next to the search bar and you see the list of all pin categories displayed on the actual map. Selecting one or more categories, you can change opacity of the pins on the map to see which pins are part of the selected categories and which pins are not. Let's not forget basic operations you can perform with pins we've inserted so far. I mean, updating pin coordinates, dragging it with the mouse and moving the pin from a position to another one, and being able to delete any selected pin on the map. Now, let me show you how to use the widget with custom data models, the famous developer point of view. Here, you can see I define a company building model, the parent, that owns records of type floor, mapping levels, the map, that owns records of type asset item, mapping locations, children of a mapping level. On the asset item model, here you can see main fields you should set to have the best experience with the web pin map widget, as the demo showed you before. Name, description, and type ID will form the info text you see around the pin. Type icon URL is the image you have on the pin item left side in the sidebar. Type image URL instead shows the image when you explode the pin clicking on it. Responsible ID in this case is the user that is responsible for this company asset. Instead, these three computed fields are useful for extra properties of the pin. IsFreeNow computed field is tied to the computed fields below. Field color sets the color of the pin, depending from the IsFreeNow field value. And computed category returns the category this pin owns. In this case, free and booked categories can be returned depending from IsFreeNow field value. This is the view that makes the magic. As usual, we define the ID of the IR UI view model. We set the model of the view, the main properties of the map, defining a fixed size map, for example, the title of the map. Now we start to bind the model, in this case the company asset floor ID, to the mapping objects. Then mapping level ID is binded to the model ID. Map picture to the floor plan relative URL field. Title of the level, the floor name, to display name model property. Now, the best part. We bind the location pin properties to the fields of children records of a company floor model. So we bind locations mapping object to asset item IDS records. Inside the XML locations element, we see bindings between mapping location properties and children model data. ID, title, description, about, category of the pin, user ID, thumbnail image URL, and image URL, the image showed when pin pops up more info, the color of the pin, X and Y coordinates. The default XML node is quite important because it tells the widget where to find the default values when you add a new pin, for example. So model fields X is tied to the X mapping location property. Same for Y and the user ID properties. Here, it set groups mapping object properties, the category tag ID, the color, title, etc. Here, it set groups mapping object properties, the category tag ID, the color, the title, etc. to define categories available on maps. In detail, here we set the free category mapping object group, here the booked or busy mapping object group category. Okay, my talk is over. It was a bit difficult because related to a work in progress project. We are still improving the web pin map component with a lot of new features. Continuous refactoring because our code is based on the Odoo web layer framework. We are still learning the real power of this library, and I can deeply suggest you to interact with this tool as soon as possible. It is a better approach to produce dynamic client-side applications. Clearly, it is a fairly new technology introduced by Odoo since version 13, and they are working full-time to produce a better and more stable version every release. I'd like to thank Odoo crews for supporting us and maintaining such a masterpiece in the ERP cosmos. Finally, Special thanks to all of my colleagues and to Rhapsody to give me chances to work on an interesting project with the approach that I like. Feel free to contact me for any info you would like to receive about this project. Thanks for your attention. Ciao.
Well, thank you so much, Filippo, for sharing your knowledge with us. And thank you, all of you, for being connected. So now it's time for questions. And here in our chat, feel free to just write and leave all the questions that you have for Filippo and his team. I can see here one question from Danilo. What's the difference between Enterprise Web Map and this specific model that you developed?
Okay, the difference was that the web map enterprise module was based on tiles map, so geographical maps and so on. But we had to deal with screenshot maps, sort of. So image maps like SVG or JPG or PNG with landmarks on location pins on these maps. So no latitude, no longitude, just fixed coordinates, and that's it. So we weren't able to use this model, but we had to deal with a new model, to develop a new model.
So, and based on this, is your model has to have connection with the website, the Odoo enterprise website, or how does it work?
No, the main goal of this model was to be adaptive. So my goal was to develop a model being adaptable to any kind of Odoo models. So this was the magic of the Odoo XML view, XML grammar. So being able to develop a sort of XML view, being able to map the Odoo models to any kind of Odoo maps and floor plans and so on.
And I'm just curious, where do you take inspiration to do this?
Okay, at the beginning, inspiration was the needs of the customer. Soon after, I tried to look for a module on the Odoo App Store or whatever on the internet, but we weren't able to find any module that were able to cover the request of our customer. So at the end, the magic word was being the word adaptive. So my goal was to adapt again any kind of Odoo models to these rendering interface, rendering flows, so maps and pins, maps, landmarks.
And
So
here, Chris is asking, can you use the pins to define the status of whatever a unit has been sold, reserved, or unsold? And if use the pins in mapping out of office or a residential units can be used too.
sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Okay, no worries. If can you use the pins to define the status of whatever a unit has been sold or reserved or is not is in inventory?
I didn't quite understand your question.
Okay, so this is a question from Chris, and it said, okay, if a unit is sold or reserved, the color of the pin should change for everyone to see the new status?
Yeah, I mean, with these XML view mappings and so on, you are be able to map the color of your pin to any kind of status that you decide on the Odoo models. So, I mean, through the demo, you can see that you can produce an XML view to describe what kind of color has to be the pin because of property of the pin.
And can this be used not only for products or that have been sold, for example, but also for other models like the rental ones? Going to
I mean, you can choose any kind of the models. I mean, in the XML view on the pin map, you can describe which is the map, the Odoo models that is the container, and which is the Odoo models that is that contains the children's. So any kind of Odoo models.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Filippo. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. And thanks to all of you for being connected with us today. I invite you
And
to stay and see another topics and continue learning in this learning process. I have another question for you. Um, so, with is this model something that people can find in the App Store, or do we need to go directly to you?
no, okay. You can go on the Raps2 website and fill up the form looking for the information about this module in particular. So far, I hope that soon this module will be available on the App Store. But so far, it's still in the alpha stage, and we are working on it, and we are improving a lot about it.
Perfect. And do you see a wider application for this specific model, not only for inventory? Do you see a wider application that people can start like realizing, oh, we can use this in this specific case? What other cases have you been thinking that could be applied?
I mean, again, with the XML view, I mean, the kind of the interface that I developed about this model, you can adapt. I mean, the magic word about this model is being adaptive. So you can adapt this model for any kind of Odoo models. So whatever. I mean, you can have a product, REST partners, REST users, you can have whatever you like.
Good. Let's just open our minds for a wide options and more probabilities to have better implementations. Philippe, I'm just curious, what other projects are you working on?
About this model, we are working on the activity based is a really big project. One of the biggest project that we have in Rhapsody is about Italgas, is the first gas distribution operator in Italy and the third in Europe. So this web pin map module is part of this big project. So we are looking forward to evolve this module to adapt this big project, that is activity based project.
And so, what are your specific? What are you looking forward in 2022 with this specific model and the whole things that you can build around it?
Okay, first of all, is to evolve this model to being adapted to Odoo 15, version 15. And this is alpha stage. So we have lots of rooms to improve this widget. We really found lots of rooms to improve this widget so far. We are getting feedback from the customers, and we are evolving a lot this module.
And now that you're talking about getting a better version of it and adapted to the B15, what are the big improvements that you want to see on the next version? Because this will help other partners to see, okay, maybe this is the path that we can take with another solution.
I mean, looking forward to see what's going to be the best goals to achieve with the version 15. So far, we just can find lots of rooms to improve this model. I mean, we are getting feedback from the final users of this model so far. So when this model will be ready to be on the App Store, I guess that will be one of the best available for this kind of requests.
And is this model available for all regions or specifically just for Europe, or can a partner in Americas adapt your model too?
I don't think will be an issue to be adaptive to any kind of region so far. We are following the Odoo standards, so to have all the translations available for all kind of languages.
Oh, this is great because having the translations just open more options, not only for you as a developer, but also for our users who are looking always to complement whatever they have. And this is a great example of how we are at Odoo. Is we are an open source company. This means that it's not just the solution that we have out of the box, it's also the knowledge of all our 3,000 partners that can develop specific tools that complement what we are doing out of the box from our headquarters. So this is a great example of what we can do as a community and what we can offer together to our clients. So Filippo, thank you so much for your experience, for sharing everything with us. And please stay connected with the rest of the conversations today. And we will see you later in other talks.
Thank you so much.